Everyone, welcome. We are officially now in December of 2025. Can you believe it? I have so much to share. So, this will be the energy update. I'm your host, Alisha Braché here. Welcome and thank you for joining me here at Cosmic Gateway. What a month it has been as we wrap up and close off November and enter into December, which, if we go by numerology, based on the time cycles that have been and the calendar that we operate from, we are closing out the last month of a 9 year and opening up a new cycle of a universal 1 year. Now, all that aside, the information that's been coming through to me for several months, probably even going back towards middle of the year, is we're slowly but surely opening up into this new harmonic reality. It's emerging within us and it's emerging around us simultaneously. But as we do that, we are also wrapping up cycles within cycles within cycles. So if you want to look at just this 9 year cycle, for example, that started in 2017, if we're looking at this 10 year closeout that I've been talking about in regards to a lot of the interference and the technology and the grey intervening, we want to look at the last 5 year of the COVID timeline narrative that's coming into a close, and even going back in as far back as 2012 and beyond. But it feels like there's this, what's been showing or coming through to me in a lot of sessions is just the spiral. So when we look at a spiral, it repeats the cycle as it comes down right into the center point. And as it comes into the center point, it kind of compresses and it re-sparks anew. So there's been so much stream of information that's been coming through that I want to share with you. I've got pages and pages of notes. So strap yourself in, get a nice warm drink or cold drink, whatever is your fancy. Funnily enough, it's officially going to be the first day of summer here in Melbourne, Australia, and we have pretty icy cold weather. it's as you've probably seen globally, the weather patterns are completely scattered. And today in Celsius is like a top of 13 degrees. But then further into the week, it gets more into sort of summer weather. But it's been so crazy. And I know that not just my part of the world, I know that many parts of the world are having weird weather anomalies. We've got the earthquakes, we've got the volcanoes, and this is really just the wrap up and the close off that we're in. So, a couple of things that have come through. First of all, December feels like the ultimate self mastery month of being able to come online with a new version of self and still navigating the external surroundings, environments, people, places, things. Because there's a lot of interference, there's a lot of friction, there's a lot of disharmony in the ethers, perhaps in the dream space, just in the energetics within others that aren't going necessarily or aren't yet going through this internal phase. What I was shown just as I was jumping on, it's given a very clear, like, symbolic reference of, when you get to the end of like a business year and you're sitting down with all the invoices or receipts and you're kind of trying to close out and clear out and file away everything that you've completed. Now, this isn't just symbolic of this year, even though it's been a 9 year, it's been the shedding, the skin of the snake. It feels like there's this reconciliation process that's happening within us and in our frequency. And this could go back as long or as far back as the soul journey began. And I think for many of us, as we are closing out this cycle and entering into this new harmonic, that's exactly what it means. We're stepping into a new harmonic space that is like the rebirthing of the universe itself, moving up one octave to what we have been to when we started this soul journey in this entire universe. It is monumental. It is huge. When is the tip over point? We're already in it, but it's becoming more apparent that we're in the upswing of it as we move through December solstice and beyond. And there's so many factors. As I as I was saying when I got interrupted then, there's so many factors coalescing in this and what we're moving through. So I'm going to get out my notes. So first of all, welcome if you're new, and thank you for joining me. Thank you if you've been joining me for months or years. I really appreciate you all being here on this journey with me. And I love the comments, the shares, the getting to know you all through that phase and that process. And I really appreciate every one of you. Whew, okay. I'm trying to look at my notes and where to begin here. Probably wake up. I'll probably start as to how I woke up this morning. So, in the lead up to coming on and doing this video, there's been 3 days building of this very strong, powerful, pure white light frequency that's been coming in, literally looking like rain or like a snowstorm. It's coming in all times and hours of the day. Often when I'm sitting in contemplation or meditation, I can feel like this powerful, almost like a column of light coming in. I can feel all the energy, or I can see it visibly with my eyes, and then it's like get taken out. There's so much happening in the ethers in the dream space, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But what I was getting was this is kind of, we're edging into December energies already, and we have been probably in the last 4 days of November. So really powerful purification, cellular regeneration energy that's coming through. So what I noticed was that there was 2 days of that with no space weather activity whatsoever. And on the third day, there was quite significant M-class solar flares and a huge stack of minor M-class solar flares. So there is this 2 day lapse or changeover from let's say the the non-monitored, the ones that can't be read on technology, but we're coming in, and that's what I feel is pushing through, is the new harmonic frequency. And then it's like as it pushes through almost the birth canal into this universe, it then hits the sun, and then the sun creates these flares, and then that's what we can pick up from this version of reality. But there's this push through that's happening, that's cleansing and clearing and wiping the slate clean. And as I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, this is closing out huge lifetime after lifetime, soul journeys for many of us who've been witness to the light and the darkness and the compression of it all, and bringing it into that rebirthing point. It's monumental, but it's exhausting, right? So what I've noticed is like the need for deep rest and deep sleep has been utterly, of the highest importance. So just be gentle and rest with your body, and really listen and pay attention to what it is that you need. Is it that you just need to rest and sleep, or is it this need for, I need to get up and move because I need to move the energy, and I'm just feeling lazy. It's like really finding that fine line between rest, contemplation, and action, forward movement. And that's where the self-mastery comes into play, because it feels like those two critical pieces are at odds. So I had quite profound dream space just last night. I'm back again, trying to stop the refocusing because it's so annoying. And it was funny, I had to go and change the lighting, and it made no difference until I telepathically spoke to it and said, stop. For now, it stopped. So there you go. There's a handy hint. Telepathically speak to your technology. Get it to do what you want, what you're asking for. So anyway, going back to this profound dream space that I had just last night. So just a note, I'm recording this on the 30th of November. And I feel like it was a glimpse of things to come. So I've been noticing this this two-tone type of dream space that has been a lot of clearing, a lot of closing down of old timelines. But then there has also been this acceleration of the new energy, the new reality coming and trying to push through. And I sat with having both experiences last night, but the higher octave of the new frequency coming in was so utterly profound, settling in the body. It had this vibrancy, energy to of creativity like I've never experienced before. And it just had such an uplifting, heart elevating or heart centered space that it was like, and this real drive and energy of motivation to like stream forward. And as I was laying in bed, coming out of that, just processing what had happened, writing down, taking notes, knowing that some of it was symbolic and some of it was quite literal. Then my mind started processing this information and data, and a lot of it was around how important our strategic moves are as we move forward into this energetic space. How important it is to dedicate our time and our energy and our focus into our conscious creations of our soul path more so than ever before. And this is how my higher self was conveying it to me. So I'm just going to pass on the message. And if it lands with you, fantastic. If it motivates you and inspires you, that's the purpose of it. But my higher self was quite firm in the importance of it, not just the light, gentle, oh, you could do this. It was very much like, no, now's the time. You've got to spring into action and create the 8 action steps of what you wish to create as we're moving out of this cycle and into the new. We're still dipping between the two simultaneously. So I'll speak and address of what that is navigating through from a human perspective. But it was like create time for, as a priority, putting yourself first in whatever that means, taking care of your health, your routine, your emotional needs. Finding the right support is absolutely crucial. Health, wellness, fitness, breaking bad habits, whatever it is. But as equally as important of all of that is to be able to schedule the time for the things that you're here to create. So whether that be writing a book, making music, creating a practice, a business, energy, whatever it is that infuses your consciousness, your soul consciousness into your body while you're creating. So this is creative practice or process that we can create as our vocation, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It can be for our own enjoyment and pleasure. And sometimes the extension of that is, there's traction with that because other people enjoy it equally as much. But it's like this kind of voice lingering of like, whatever you've been doing over the last, let's say, for example, 9 years, the last 9 year cycle, you've gained so much wisdom. You've learned a lot about yourself. And you've also had glimpses of what you feel is your highest expression and optimal timeline. And there's also been the frustration and the interference and, all the things that have come with it that, the false starts and, riding that wave and almost being there and, falling back. It's like, no, now it's about holding the reins of destiny in both hands and scheduling and making time to meet it because it's ready to meet you. Whatever it is that you've had glimpses of over the previous years, and you know is part of your path and destiny is literally waiting in the wings to meet you, to greet you. But we have to do our part and we have to meet it halfway. So taking the steps towards that each and every day, no matter how minuscule that may be or how massive those leaps are, it means taking leaps of faith. It means putting ourselves first. It means staying focused. It means stepping through resistance thresholds that we might have of internal uh, resistance or procrastination or external energies that come up against us, utilizing those things as our motivation to push forward because, and this was how it was conveyed to me, was the most important, powerful thing in the entire, on this planet, in the entire universe, is us in our soul essence utilizing those energies in our creative capacity, in however that looks. The most powerful thing that collapses the old and enters the new is us who've come here at this time to do those things. So it's more powerful to be actively engaged in our creative process or our spiritual evolutionary process in action, merging the ethers and the energetics and working it in the physical, however that looks, than not doing anything at all. Simple as that. If we're still fighting against the systems in our mind internally, I mean, yes, there is a place for that, and I'm not going to deny it, but it's like we're at this point now that the strongest energy that we can hold is stepping into a place of empowerment, working with our gifts, our God given gifts and talents. And the old that we've been fighting against, whether internally or externally or both, becomes relatively like the, irrelevant, essentially. It kind of dissolves away. We create from within our world, and then that vibrates into the external world that we're creating. The more of us that are actually utilizing that and doing that, the more power we bring in to create the collective shift and change. So it's not about waiting anymore for an external event or circumstance or situation or ripe energies or person or whatever. It's like doing the action steps that we can take towards that, and whether that's just getting ourselves right mentally, emotionally, physically, or whatever that looks like. All those things that we know are part of it, and I know that, and I'm included in this. This is not like having partnership or soul tribe as a collaborative effort is a powerful force. The more we kickstart our own thing, that's where the collaboration and fusion of energies can join, because we're stabilized in that new frequency, and that's what's waiting for us, and that's awaiting in the wings for us. So, whew, yeah, my high's up on fire today, like laying down the law and like this has got to be. And as we move through December, it's like we're still in the old. We're still dissolving a lot of our outdated versions of ourselves, experiences. There are complexities in our reality. But if we can hold first and foremost in our priority list what it is that we're walking into and creating, and making space for that in our lives and not relying or waiting on anything else external, that is where we're going to see the biggest catalyst of change in our frequency, in our energy, in our longevity, in our youthfulness, in our health and vitality. And that's where we're going to create the greatest change collectively. So, powerful message that I'll just drop there because, and that's going to look different for everyone. That's quite a very broad statement, but if it lands with you, please take it as inspiration, and knowing that, and I want to get to what is awaiting, because throughout the course of November, I've had so many synchronicities line up in my life, showing me the bookends of the completion of these cycles. You know, the wide ones, the middle range, the small ones, but it's like this wrap up and showing something that occurred like 10 years ago coming back around full circle, something that happened 20,000 lifetimes ago, maybe not, but you know, coming full circle. There's this full completion phase and energy. So it's being gentle and gracious with ourselves of the grief, the mourning, the loss, the disconnect, coming out of frequency alignment with, you know, jobs or resonance or people or places or relationships. You know, there's all of that that's very, very real and very raw. And the old versions of ourselves that we've got to mourn and loss. So it's being gentle in that phase, but also fiercely charging forward in the new energy that is starting to trickle through and be given to us in access. And sometimes it's just taking those first steps. We cross those thresholds of resistance barriers. And there is a lot of opposing forces too. You know, I've heard this feedback a lot in the last week of people having, you know, quite severe energetic sort of psychic attacks or things like that that are happening in the energetics and the ethers. And that's as a consequence of their striving forward in this like fierce action steps of things that are going to shift and change timelines collectively. And so these are very real things that need to be dealt with and addressed and loved and supported. But it's like not giving our power away to them, not giving too much attention to them, literally meeting them as they are, clocking it, saying, I see you, but I'm not going to perpetuate my reaction and that energy that is trying to block or limit me or keep me entangled. I'm just going to deal with it as I need to, as necessary, and I'm not going to give unnecessary attention to it. I'm going to give more attention to what I'm creating and where I'm moving forward. So I hope that that makes sense. That's a big sort of information and data dump, but I'll get into my notes now. So that's where the self mastery for December comes in, is really cultivating and creating that space of what it is that do I want to be replicating and repeating old cycles, moving into this new space. And you know, I'm not suggesting at all that, you know, the clock strikes midnight on the 1st of January and we're in it. No, this is a phasing out and phasing in phase, but we are more than 50% in this. I would say 60, 70, 80, and that depends on the individual. But we're definitely moving through into this new harmonic space. And so it's like looking at next year as like a preparation or a landing, like landing pad to like jump into infinity and beyond. It's like, how can you support that in moving and doing things differently than what you have previously in the past cycles? And even if you don't have clarity on what it is, I'm sure that most of you watching this have some sort of inkling of where your soul's driving and charging forward with you. I'm sure you've had glimpses throughout dreams or meditations or visions or downloads over the last, you know, handful of years or even longer. But even if you don't have the specifics, the fact that your intention can just be so general as to, I want to experience different to what I have previously, and I'm prepared to do whatever I need to make that happen. Make that be your mantra, your daily mantra. And sometimes it's good to have a really neutral stance on what it is, just knowing that you're stepping into something new and different. Because sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, we can be too rigid or attached to how the outcome should be, and that can keep us locked or contracted. And I'll give you an example. One of the bookends that I experienced just in the last week, in the last week of November, was this expansion of that new reality that I speak about in my own life, opening up and emerging. And this time it was a shared experience, whereas 2 years ago it was very, very much an individual experience that I went through, and this opening up and emerging. Whereas I got to witness that with others who also were witnessing the same energy in the expansion and the power and the potency that it has and holds. And I can feel that we're entering into when I had that very heightened experience a couple of years ago and walking in the new timeline, the new reality for months. It's like moving into that, but much more solid and grounded. And we all have access to that, and we're slowly kind of slipping and moving into that. And so that excites me, and I have these profound moments of overwhelm because I don't expect for it to be exactly as I experienced. But I do believe that I had an insight or a glimpse to understand it and to help facilitate people to get there. And that's what I do in my quantum merging work. So it's being open to it, but following the energy. Same with what I share and teach about within divine counterpart connections is you may feel the energy of someone coming in, but it's best to be unattached to the name, the face, work with the energy and allow the surprise. You may be 100% right in who you know or whatever it may look like, but just be open to it, not having those rigid expectations, following the energy and allowing the energy to open up, because sometimes we get everything that we want and it's even greater than what our human mind could have conceptualized based on the level of consciousness that we were operating on when we first, received the intuitive hits. So, just staying open to it. So, okay. All right. So I'm going to go through my notes now. I told you it's going to be a biggie. So I promised that I would touch on the end of November and getting in alignment with the highest pathway, and the internal splitting. So this came around, I would say sometime of early October. It was a dream space message that came through, and they're the ones that I really pay the most significant attention to. And it was after I had gone through this very deep, intense initiation back in September. The initiation during the September eclipse was literally the biggest soul point I've ever personally gone through. And it was to do with, are you entering into the new cycle, or are you just going to diminish in the old and not sort of evolve? And it was so hard on my physical body that it felt as though, and it could have been very realistic too. It's like, are you going to make the changes that you need to, that you haven't been addressing within your life? Or are you going to allow your physical body to just completely disintegrate, essentially? So it was like, the new timeline is waiting for you, but these are the changes that you need to make. It was so clear. Otherwise, there is a high risk that there is a timeline you will just slip down and you will go through physical death. Essentially, it was kind of like a life or death choice point for me. Sounds very, very radical, but the way that it was pointed was like, there are really important things that you came to do as part of your soul mission, And right now, you're not kind of meeting the quota. And this isn't in a judgmental way. This was like a loving, extreme circumstance that it's like it's time to change now for the benefit of you so you can reap the rewards later and be fulfilled in what you came to do. Because right now you're kind of playing small, or no, maybe not playing small, but you're still looping in those previous time cycles. And right now is the cutoff point. Make your decision, make that leap. And I made it. And ever since then, everything has started to open up and evolve and accelerate quite significantly. But it required a lot of grueling effort on my part for the implementation of what I needed to do. And it was very, very clear. So, just to give you an example from my own personal experience, so for me, it was more implementation of taking better care of my health and asking for help, which is something I never ever do, but the importance of having practitioner help and support on a very holistic approach. I've been able to traverse what would seemingly be an incurable condition in 2 months' time. Like, that's the type of miracles that we can walk into when we're approaching it from the physical, the energetic, the mental, and the emotional space. So that was like, and it was about disconnecting from old versions of self, old versions of relationships. There was a lot involved in that. So that was my experience of the internal splitting. And since then, not every day is a walk in the park, but I know that I'm more and more moving down that trajectory and what's opening up. So what came through after I'd sort of made that leap as I woke up one of these mornings in October, I heard my higher self say, November, the end of November is the deadline date for those that need to be on that trajectory. If people don't make the shifts and changes that they need to implement, they will go through a series of extreme choice points or soul points. And I can only equate it to what I went through in September. And so for some people, it may look very different. It may be about giving up that job that doesn't serve anymore, or walking away from that toxic relationship that just is dead, but you're still there. It could be so many different things for so many, but it's essentially letting go of the things that don't serve that new version of you that wants to step up and come online. So I know that there is, like, what I keep getting is there is this handful of people that are almost soul contracted at the highest levels to kind of go through this internal shifting to access the new frequency and to make the leap and jump. And it opens up the space, the frequency that pours in from those individuals and then moves around collectively, creates a ripple in the collective field. And then there's other series of groups that will sort of be attuned into that frequency. So I think the initial process is quite extreme to get people on board, and then it dilutes down as it moves through. So I really honor anyone who might be going through that right now, or is coming out the other side of it, or being pushed. The deadline to the end of November that was shown, it cast in front of me like a movie reel of a whole heap of people that I've known past, present, and potentially future, and just different life scenarios of what people are moving through. And that it was loving, but it was firm. And it was like, if people don't actually make the choices that they need to, the universe or the divine will step in and create very extreme scenarios so that they do get pushed to almost there is no choice. They have to make that decision for themselves. And, I can speak quite openly to that because I feel like in my life, I've been pushed to the brink in those circumstances more than once, of like knowing for years that I should leave a relationship, or knowing for years I should exit the job and create my own business. And I feel like I waited to the extreme, the final hour. Um, and then because I hadn't taken that leap of faith, literally circumstances outside of my control just kind of go boom, you know. And then it can be really tricky and uncomfortable. But either way, we get there in the end, right? And I'm sure so many of you can relate to what I'm speaking of. So that was just to clarify. I think someone asked if I could clarify about the end of November date of aligning with the highest purpose. But it's very much, very loudly and very boldly showing up in our bodies because our bodies are going through such a huge transformative process that is aligning with the new octave of this new reality. So, at a cellular level, at a DNA level, our bodies are literally transforming into this new frequency that's being gifted to us. And we need to support that process as best as we can. Um, okay. And I've just made a note here, especially counterparts and frequency holders that have been caught in matrix webs from the previous 5-year cycle, the COVID timeline, essentially, that's being completely dissolved in because we're about to kind of move through the next upswing of the most significant events that are going to take place collectively, I believe, in the coming year or years to come. So we need to be at the top of our game to be just moving through that in our power, not with, bullshit technologies and interferences, just being in alignment with ourselves. Okay, all right. So, what else? Okay, so throughout this past week, I've had pretty much most nights for an entire week or even longer now this theme when I wake up, and it's not even so much specifically around what plays out in the dream space through the events and the actual events and what's occurring, but it's a feeling that I wake up with after being in the dream space. And that is that the SSP programs are coming to an end, to a close, to a finality. And that those people whose consciousness has been immersed in various programs and multidimensionally working to do the multidimensional cleanup on this planet, that is coming to a completion. The energetic occurred in the higher state of consciousness, wrapped up and closed, coming up to almost 2 years ago. So that the finality from the energetics and the higher perspective, but now we're closing it out in linear, physical, real time. And I love how my house is in sync. As I said that, there was like this bang on the roof. We're going to see that come to completion and close within the first quarter of next year. And I've been getting these downloads that probably don't make a lot of astrological sense, but I feel like there's an astrology component to it in what we're witnessing with the planets and the changeover. This sort of changeover from the old garden. I feel like there is, I have made some notes about it. Yeah, the Saturn and Neptune and how they're connected, moving out of control and confusing time cycle loops as they've been in Pisces, and they're preparing to come out of retrograde. I think Saturn already has, Neptune will in the next week or two. But then early in 2026, they then move into Aries. And this is hugely symbolic. Now, I don't get into the astrology. I'm not an astrologer, but this is just the downloads I was getting about how it's connected. So these time cycle loops are connected to programs, abductions, gray interference, because they work on planetary body loops and time cycles. And so as I said, drawing near and closing and completing out of these programs in linear 3D reality time. Every time I say that, I don't know if you can hear the background. It has to do with these astrological transits. So this is something that I've clocked a couple of years ago that I think in our personal chart, as we know, as I personally believe, astrology is connected to the 3D matrix. So as we move out of this harmonic space, I do believe that astrology will exist, but a more evolved version will start to emerge just in the way that it is understood, read, more based on frequency than time cycle loops, and not so boxed in around personal profiling, but how we can use it in its most pure advantage and octave. Because in this new harmonic reality that's emerging, it impacts all the planets in this universe. So everything is jumping into the new octave and evolving. So none of it can be related to as it has done previously. It's this kind of quantum leap of evolution. But as it has been previously, I've noticed this pattern that emerges around Saturn transits. I think even maybe a little bit of Neptune and Pluto transits in people's personal charts, and what actually occurs when they have contact experience, abduction experiences, enter into 20 and back or 40 and back, however long and back programs. The correlating data that I've been based upon is through my own experience, speaking to people who have had, whistleblower testimony, and all the work that I do in my personal sessions. There is, without a wavering of a doubt in my mind, there are data correlations that are undeniable in when things occur in childhood. Tends to happen in the first Saturn transit, which is a range of years. But if we look at the center point of that, around 9 years of age, and there's something that always seems to be relevant or significant around that time. So I think they leverage these astrological transits and work with them based on knowing how that impacts the psyche and the energetics and the cycles. And it's almost like being able to see how this individuation of a child is about to step out in their own energy and become an individual away from the energy field of their parents. And that's kind of when these contact experiences do happen and the technology gets implanted. Then we kind of fast forward. There's another interesting cycle around moving into adulthood. So out of the teen years into adulthood, there is like this kind of, seems like there's a multi-dimensional entrance point around coming into doing a 20 and back potentially and being contracted. But it was like the groundwork had been prepped, maybe 10 years or in that 9-year cycle. Then we come to the Saturn return, which happens some people say 26 to like 30, 31 age bracket. That tends to be where I see the most profound spiritual awakenings occur within the individual, where they start to clue into these things or have conscious contact experience, have a Kundalini awakening, come into the next part of their spiritual evolution. Then we go into the 40s. And during that, in the late 30s, very late 30s to early 40s, tends to be a culmination or a completion of SSP cycles or programs, or at least the first 20 and back, coalesces or completes in and around that time. And that's when more revelations come up, and there's this whole shifting of life experience that occurs, which also correlates with another Saturn transit. So it's so fascinating. And I don't even know much about astrology. This has just been intuitive hits and downloads that I've been getting. The other interesting thing that I've been getting in this inquiry about, well, what happens as these planets go through, as we move through into this new harmonic cycle and version, what is happening. And I saw this really interesting thing yesterday in meditation, was because I know that all the outer planets, all the major planets are all shifting signs. I just spoke about Saturn and Neptune moving out of Pisces and moving into Aries. And I know that we're experiencing that with a lot of the other planets that have big transit rotations. But what I was shown energetically was that, yes, when we look at the, moving out of Pisces into Aries, that's a whole 12 sign cycle, right? Pisces being the 12th sign, the end, starting a whole new cycle. So I was literally seeing these planets move out of one bandwidth of harmonic reality and moving into the new harmonic version as they switch signs. So this process that we're moving through, that's like we're already started, but really we start to get a deeper sense of it coming into 2026, is also there are astrological alignments and placements that we can denote, or that can be time markers of when we're going to feel it more tangibly and in this reality. And that's how I was literally seeing it. As they transit in, they're actually moving out of the old expression into the new one. And I think this is going to be noticeable more so from looking back. But it's I know it's a bit out there, and it's not your general astrology. I just wanted to share these updates because it makes sense to me in the energetics of where we're moving to, and how the planets play, the frequency of the planets, I should say, are making such a important marker point in conjunction with it all, and this soul's journey that we're wrapping up, because they too have a soul's journey, and we have a soul's journey with them. If we look at if we could look at things like the SSP, and if we've had experiences, let's say on Mars or the Moon or Jupiter, for example, we have an energetic relationship with these planets, whether it be good, bad, or neutral, otherwise. And then we're looking at other planets that aren't typically in astrology, but, more planetary bodies like Pleiades and Arcturus, and the resonance of Lyra that's no longer physically existing, but the energy resonance of it is there. And how that, all those energies, those civilizations, our experiences as a soul on them, how it impacts where everything is coming to the center point here on Earth within us. It's utterly profound. So let that sink in for a second. Because we do have karmic reconciliation with some of these. And this is something I've dived into a little bit over the years. I think Edgar Casey touched on this a little bit through his work too. But no, I've always looked at things like, let's say Mercury retrograde, for example. I seem to be relatively unimpacted by Mercury retrograde. I travel, I do all these things that they say typically shouldn't, never been impacted by it. Yet other things I do seem to be more impacted by. And that's just through my own observation. But this thought of like, perhaps, just putting it out there, perhaps people who have a real adverse experience to, let's say, things like Mercury retrograde, and perhaps they have this past life karma or trauma wounding that is related to the planet body and frequency itself. So if we can do the healing around that within us, of doing a past life regression or some sort of healing work to neutralize that energy and whatever was experienced, bringing it into balance, then we neutralize our experience with it moving forward and we don't have those anomalies. So just, here's my musings. This is welcome to the wonderful world of Alisha's mind and musings with these expressions and how energy can relate. But in a general sense, we're coming into the neutralized balance of all soul experiences, so we can start this new expression with the memory and the understanding and the embodied wisdom of the past, but not carrying the trauma of it. And that's why this year has been so incredibly grueling for so many of us, maybe even the last handful of years, because we really need to be as pristinely prepared as possible moving forward. And it's a big job, and it's not expected to be done overnight. We're moving into it incrementally, and it's supporting ourselves as we do that. Well, okay. I think I've covered almost everything. No. Okay. So how I've been seeing it in sessions is there's a sacred geometry pattern that is held in the old cycle that is being disintegrated and dismantled within. And the new frequency of the new geometry, the new reality, is awakening within individuals. So that's where we access it first and foremost. That's why the inner work is so important, so crucial. There's been a huge emphasis on the masculine movement, and the shift has been palpable throughout November. I've witnessed it within myself, through my body, through my healing, and in the external as well, of those masculines that I relate to who are near and dear and close to me. And through a myriad of ways, there is this real, slowly but surely regaining purpose and power. And I think this is part of the SSP programs dismantling. There's new light and energy that's available that's giving us that insight to step and move forward. And the whole theme for December, which is reflected in the artwork, which I'll show you in a second, is very much around two energies combining and colliding and re-sparking this cosmic rebirth within. And I'll show you the artwork in a second, because each artwork shows a picture of moving through the different phases and stages of December itself. But part of this re-sparking and re-emerging is something that has never been done before. I do feel that there is an energy from Atlas that is helping facilitate this. Absolutely. Not even getting into specifics of what or who I think it is. It's just the energy that's flying in with it is very strong and very cosmically activating. And it's doing something within our own harmonic resonance internally, if we're willing to sit and access and dialogue with that. But what it's doing is, as these quantum particles are kind of colliding within us, whether we want to look at that as our masculine and feminine reuniting and joining, creating that powerful new energy rebirth, whether it's our present self and our future self colliding. I think it's, you know, we can look at it from many, many aspects, whether it's our human embodiment and the highest cosmic soul alignment coming in. I actually think it's all three melded together. So as these changes are happening within inside us internally, it's switching on a lot of our sensitivity, our becoming heightened and highly attuned to our external environment, because our internal frequency is becoming the superhuman version that we were all always destined to become, that has been dormant or switched off. And that in the human processing can be really tricky and challenging, because we then all of a sudden become aware of the subtleties that were always there but we never had access to perceiving or coming into alignment with. So people's energies become really exacerbated and become very, there's a friction that is in the atmosphere itself. The energies feel thick and like there's a lot of friction, but we can feel this in our closest relationships or even just the general population. And I've noticed this over the last couple of years when we get to this heightened energy and this new, a little bit more of the new coming online within us, going out into public areas can almost feel like an energetic assault on the body, because there's so much. And the reason for that is it's got so much more to do with us than it does with them, whoever them is. It's because we are attuning and growing and changing and shifting so much internally. That process really needs to be respected and protected for what it is, whether that's a day, a month, a week, or incrementally interwoven throughout a period of time. That some days you're good and some, it's being aware of where you're at in your process and how you can incubate and honor that internal process without having too much outside uh, input, or I don't want to use the word interference, but we'll throw that one in. It's a very sacred process that needs to be honored for what is occurring within you. So how this may show up in your reality is, and this is part of the falling away of the old too, that, we just drop out of frequency and resonance with activities, with places that we used to like to go, or things that we used to do. People, especially friends, family members, colleagues, we're going through such a precious and important phase in our own evolution that the other, in whoever that looks like, and in the multiple ways that that can show up, hasn't yet turned on that internal process. They will, but maybe not at the same time that you may be a front runner in going through this. So it's just honoring the space and time that you need to kind of buffer yourself from the outside world, and just allow the space to not take in so much data and information, whether that's through conversations, through social media, through YouTube, whatever, but really honoring the downtime to listen to the soul speaking and giving you the guided instructions. So that's where, the friction of the outside world, because you're internally changing, and just recognize that rather than getting caught up in narratives and dialogues and frustrations and projections of others, it's you're internally changing. And while you're in that process, everything's going to feel really harsh and really like grating on your being until you solidify that process, come out of the cosmic egg, so to speak, that rebirth, then you're more solid in the new version of yourself. You can then reconnect with the people, places, and things, and the new things in much more seemingly, seemingly effortless ways that don't feel harsh on you, and the very essence of you that's kind of rebirthing. So I think that's all. Yeah, through so much light that we had come through November, so much of the new frequency and the solar activity, I did notice there was a real dark energy shake-up. And so just to, as I was saying, not to be aware of these things, but not to give it too much of our attention. There has been a lot of dark entities, interference energies, especially by the dream space. So it's like when you're asleep, just making sure that you kind of put that sphere of energy around you to kind of keep you cocooned as much as possible. Or when you wake up in the morning, just doing an energy scan. Because I've noticed that that tends to be where, when we go through that rattling up, they sort of come through via the dream space as we're coming back into our bodies. We've been out traveling. So just, doing our energy hygiene practices, to allow to clear. Otherwise, that energy is going to impact everything that we do for the rest of the day. And it's like an overlaid or overshadowed energy that just kind of distorts our reality. And it doesn't do anything good for us or people, loved ones around us. So yeah, just keeping that in mind. And so let's get into the events for December. And then we'll move into the intuitive insight guidance. So there is a handful of events that I'll be holding throughout December, which I'm super excited to be offering. But first of all, based on all that we're maneuvering through and the high level of energetic self-mastery that is required, I realize that not everyone has the tools and the capability, or you might be at the point where you need new tools, because you've been working with the old ones and they're not as efficient or proficient as what they have been in the past. So I'm going to offer 33% off all the elevation training, up until the 21st of December. The elevation training kit is literally everything that I've discussed is designed to help you navigate through this entire process. So elevation training, the first one is about energetic self-mastery, taking you through energetic awareness, how to clear traumas, attachments, imprints, and how to access your soul destiny template. Elevate 2 training is all taking you through that process, but how to maneuver it in a coupled or paired dynamic in soul connection and partnership. And Elevate 3 is all about the restoration of consciousness of people who've had experiences in various programs, SSP, birth programs. It's about retraining and reaccessing your full consciousness, and unraveling the programming and the conditioning that has been a part of those programs so that you can come back in to full access and clarity of your resonance and your abilities. So there'll be a promo code, which is Solstice, all in caps. I'll put it in the description box below, but I highly recommend to access some, if not all of them. There's a package where you can get all 3 together. But yeah, 33% off moving through the month of, up until solstice. On December's solstice, there will be a Sacred Solstice Soul Union, Soul Connect gathering. So on Sunday, the 21st of December at 7 p.m. Tickets will be available in the description box, but this is all themed around soul union and the 2 parts colliding, what I've been speaking about. So the themes that I've been addressing in this update will be the themes of this event. And this is an online event for anyone to join. There will be a replay available. And the in-person event that I'll be holding a gathering for a Skywatch in-person event for those who are in Melbourne or coming to Melbourne. So Friday the 19th of December, so the date that 3i Atlas is closest to Earth. It's a Friday starting at 6:30 in the southeast suburbs of Melbourne. Tickets are free, but just to sign up so I know who's coming in advance. So that is also all available on the website as well. So I would love for you to come and join me, connect with me, whether it's the online gathering, the in-person gathering. Join me via the elevation training. It's as you go, so you go through it at your own pace, and then you can continually access it ongoing forever. It's one of those necessary toolkits for your own, elevation. I think that's about it. So all of that will be in the description box below, and of course, sessions as usual. So if you're needing additional one-on-one support and you would like to connect with me for a quantum merging or a personal soul session, you can connect with me via my website, and I would love to connect with you and support you. So with all that, I hope you're still with me. We're going to dive in, and I'm going to tell the story of the artwork that has come through, and we'll dive into the intuitive insight guidance. Let's go into the artwork that I've created. It's been in the making for a couple of days, and that's what I love about the creative processes. When I'm in my own zone working with bringing through a piece of artwork, there's always a story. It's always painting a picture. It's trying to express something through to me. And obviously, these specifically, when I sit down the intention of the energetic theme for the month, that's what it's coming through as. So the first piece of artwork, obviously, this whole cosmic rebirth has been a theme that's ongoing, that came through with the download a couple of months ago. So this is what I'm talking about these two quantum particles coming together and colliding. We can see, as I mentioned, we could see that as the masculine, feminine, or the human self, the soul self, the cosmic version, the future version of self coming into the present. But it's literally these two, what I was getting was these two quantum particles that have been at a distance that are coming in to collide together. And this is the first time that this has happened ever, or in eons of time. And this is, to be very clear, this is an internal process that's happening. This has nothing to do with the bearings of what's happening in external, even though it sounds very counterpart-like, yes. But this is about meeting the counterpart, the divinity that resides within us, and bringing that spark of creation back online and available to us, because that is the energy, that is the power and potent energy that creates a new reality. And yes, once we've done that process within ourselves, it really does set the solid foundation for aligning with the highest potential partner in this lifetime. So it is and can be as a part of that if this is part of your path, but it's really seemingly focused on laying down the energetic foundation of what is coming, colliding within us, and how we can access all that unique energy and code and gifting that's becoming restored and available to recreate our reality, essentially. So this is the two parts meeting and coming together, which then furthers into this experience of going into the cocoon or the cosmic egg. So it's like they come together and they are concealed or hidden or go within this golden frequency that keeps them incubated, so that the process, the reconnecting and the rejoining and the light expansion or explosion that occurs through that process, and the vibrational reattunement and adjustment that is necessary is happening in a safe space and environment. And then when it's ready to come out and be revealed, there is this new harmonic expression or version that is merged to become one, essentially, that then creates this pulsating ripple and fusion of light. So that was the story that came, the story of creation. But this is the theme of the energetics that is playing out for December and ongoing, but starting to be palpably felt throughout December as we kind of move into this 2026 energy and vibration of the one. And as I was reflecting on this, it's interesting. Universal 1 year was when I created Cosmic Gateway. And so now I'm on the verge of creating a new creative project and pathway that will run in conjunction with Cosmic Gateway. But it's like this ripe energy to set the foundation for the newness of what's happening within us and how it can be expressed, and really shooting for the stars in our highest expression of what we really want to come and create, because we're really in that having a taste of or working with that energy, that the infinite possibilities that await, and we've just got to stay focused and diligent of working with that and allow it to come to fruition, because once we start moving and working with it, the vibration that is held within us internally becomes available online, and we start to magnetize, the co-collaborators and whatever it is that we need. So powerful times we're moving through. So let's dive in. Bear with me while I take the last sips of my drink. Yeah. So this will be A. So if you've connected with this image of A, this will be your intuitive insight guidance for the month of December. Ooh, just got a jolt through the back of my body. Ooh. Yeah, there's the first thing that I've picked up with the energy of this card is like something's coming into land, and it feels like it's coming through the back of the heart. This is not an intrusive energy in any way. It is actually a loving vibration energy that is gently nudging or pointing you to your North Star, is the way that it wants to come through, to the future focus. And I'm seeing an image. Oh, okay. I'm seeing an image of someone looking outside. Almost looks like a movie. Someone looking outside, looking at a particular star or stargazing. Looking at, to me, it looks like Venus, the energy of Venus, because it has that loving energy and essence and vibration. But like feeling a real connection with the stars or a particular star, and almost having a telepathic download or dialogue. And it's like as you're watching and looking at that as the external reference, there's something that's coming in behind you that's kind of pushing you forward. And it feels like this loving energy of governing and supporting, but pushing you forward on that path and journey to push you outside of the realm of comfort zone, perhaps the realm of what you would normally do or what would be considered normal. Interesting. Interesting, the cards are coming out. Because based on the cards, there is this feeling of retreat, seclusion, disillusion, wanting to give up, feeling suppressed, feeling like giving up on your dreams, essentially. I feel like that's the energy that has been, or could be, a prominent part of the second part of this year. That real sort of heavy, depressive kind of energy of not being able to see clearly, but it's like you get this nudge or push forward. And I feel, as I'm looking down at the cards, I see the number 4, which is the 4 of Swords, and I'll come to that in a second. But what has sprung to mind initially is like the full moon in Gemini that's coming up. I think it's the fourth. I'm pretty sure it's the fourth. It could be the fifth. Um, might be the fifth in the southern hemisphere. But it feels like that energy of the full moon is sort of coalescing or coinciding with this push forward. So it's opening up and presenting opportunities to have open dialogue, perhaps with yourself or perhaps significant other or others that needs to be addressed. That it's almost like the higher self and the wisdom of the higher self comes through and just speaks. Oh, bear with me. It's big energy moving through this reading. Like there's big energy that has been held for far too long. A lot doesn't belong to you. It's like taking on the garbage of the family, the household, the childhood stuff, perhaps. It's like that is just being like emptied out to its, there's nothing left to shake out. It's like this process. Oh, okay, cool. This is telling me. So the cards that have fallen out, the first one was bondage, which is issues of control and freedom. It's like wanting to break free of the bondage, but becoming acutely aware of what are the control issues? Where are the control issues coming from? Is it within me? Is it the people around me? But it's like being able to see reality in a way you've never seen it before. Um, it's like trying to climb up this cliff. It's not that way. It's that way. Being able to, and it's like this really hard task of climbing a mountain that feels relentless and endless until all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can just crawl along here and it's easy. It's like being able to that perception shift from one to the other. It's like, oh my goodness, I was doing this hard yards all the time and I just realized like there's all these very specific energy cords, for example, or things that I haven't noticed before. And if I just address that via a conversation, address that by like severing it, it's actually going to free up all this energy in space that has been keeping me held down or locked into this kind of disillusionment energy. And that's what it actually came up in the reverse position, but it's the Four of Swords, the recovery, the retreat. So it's like feeling really heavily weighed down by excess mental energy. I almost want to throw in there potentially intrusive thoughts or energies that you've been picking up from others that is their self degrading um, inner dialogue. It's like perhaps acknowledge maybe this perception shift is just actually addressing or realizing that you've been um, consuming or what's the word what's the word I'm looking for? Absorbing too much of other people's energy and conflict energy and dialogue that's been weighing you down. But there's a reason for that, and we have to address that of like, why is that at a resonance that connects with me? Yes, I'm super sensitive, but it's like, what's the dial within me that relates to an outdated version of me or a childhood version of me, something that I've carried into this lifetime that allows me to go into this retreat, give up type energy or episode, because that's essentially what wants to be worked with and addressed to allow yourself to give you the space and time to make the necessary adjustments within your life. Because we have the contemplation cards with Eight of Cups. So this could be examining a lot of emotions, a lot of previous memories, matters dealing with the heart, relationships, connections, nostalgia, um, walking away from things that have hurt you, from the that may be still present in your life, but from the past. It's like saying no more. I can't, but it's like, see how she's looking out the window here? And what was I saying in the beginning of like, just, if your bed, oh, interesting. There's a window here as well. With both, it's like when one is like this saying that used to come to me all the time. When when one door closes, look for the window of opportunity that awaits. It feels like, yeah, looking to the stars, looking to the sky, looking to the higher self. Because even though it may seem hopeless and disappointing, there's this whole new thing that's coming in that you're not aware of. And that represents, we've got here the Emperor that fell out, so masculine influence and power. This really feels like stepping back and reclaiming your essence and power that you've long lost or forgotten or been downtrodden because of circumstances or allowed people to kind of tread all over you, and you've kind of like diminished yourself in some way or capacity to keep the peace. But it's now reclaiming that power and stepping back and going, no, this is who I am, which starts the process of the new journey, the fall. So taking chances, spontaneity, taking that leap and courage of faith, even if you don't necessarily know where you're headed. And it doesn't, I feel like there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of very vast unknowns of like, I don't know where I'm heading. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's actually okay. It's like connecting, what I was saying before, connecting with the feeling of anything other that doesn't feel desirable in your life and move towards that as an energy, as a reality, because that feels like what is taking place and what is taking space. So there's big transformations coming through. There's big transformations that are coming through your life through this month of December that is really preparing the stage or the way for you. Um, yeah, I just heard the words like no more karmic contracts involved, closing out those very prominent karmic contracts. So working with the ET Experience Oracle, I love these. I'm so glad I brought them out last month. I thoroughly enjoyed working with them. So the first card that's come out is Consider Regression. Your subconscious remembers more. So that might be really play an important role, whether you consider regression, whether it has to do with past life or childhood. You might even consider like a quantum merging session with me, or just go with what feels right for you. Highly recommend doing some form of session with someone who can facilitate, because it feels like there is a body of information that wants to come through that's going to help navigate. It's going to help seal the deal in what you're moving through. It's going to help you navigate the new and how to implement that and what's to come. We also have okay, interesting. We have the past life contactee. So you've made direct contact in past lives. I'm going to show these. So yeah, hang on. Give me a Oh, please bear with me. That is the second time my connection has dropped during recording this. So there's some potent energies flying through. I was just showing these cards. So we've got the Consider Regression, or some sort of formal session that will access what it is that you need. It feels like having someone hold a container of space for you to be able to access what it is that wants to come through. And then we have the past life contactee. So you've made direct contact in a past life. I also want to add to that maybe parallel. I feel like there's some parallel life contact experience that you may be going through that you can't intellectualize or put language around because it's a bit far out of the realm of maybe your day to day. But it feels like there is some sort of, I want to say, benevolent involvement that is helping support you create this container to kind of uplift you and get you out of the circumstances that you're currently facing. And thrown in there, we've got the hybrid program. So you're a genetic participant. So that may throw like an oddball in to the reading. So hybrid program in its most known sense is people who've had experimentation done through abductions and contact that have had their genetic material utilized for the purpose of procreation of different species. Normally this happens on board craft, but I want to take this out. That may not be applicable to everyone watching this. So I want to kind of cast a wider web out and talk about it's something to do that's really important about your genetics in what you're unearthing within yourself. Could be your DNA, your bloodline. Could be reversing karmic cycles of ancestral patterning. But it has something really important to do with the genetics. And it might be, for some, there may be thoughts of having children or family in the future. So it may be about the refinement and the purification of severing cords from any sort of genetic manipulation or interference or what's the word, controlled aspect of it. Because generally a lot of clients or people that I connect with have a very unique essence or energy in their template, whether that be energetic, in their DNA. And that's the one that seems to be the most tampered with or convoluted, or the ones that have been most downtrodden and made to believe that potentially they, worthless or had really low self-esteem. It's because of whatever they hold within them is actually the most precious. So it's like in this, this distorted reality, it's like, oh, don't let them know the preciousness of what they have or hold. And then we've got soulmates. Your soulmate is from the stars. So there might be something to do with a reconnective phase, whether that's just in the energetics. I also want to bring in what's flashing in front of me is what I call the galactic or cosmic counterpart energy, which is, in my body of work, is the highest level of frequency match, because we come from such a higher density or dimension. And a lot have incarnated at this time. So you may be starting the process of connecting or reconnecting. That may be the person energetically that is helping facilitate you get out or unstuck of the circumstances in which you find yourself in. And it may not necessarily be direct contact with a physical person just yet, but it may be feeling the presence of them in how they are supporting you maneuver through life, and the reawakening that comes with that, that reminds you of your importance of who you are on a soul level. And so to be really open, and this could also be reversed. So it might be you that is energetically connecting with the other and helping support them. Just take it as it resonates. There's a lot of information coming through. The frequency matches and counterparts are the cornerstone of opening up the new reality. It's their frequency that is held within that resparks and activates individually, and then in the partnership or the dynamic and the connection that ripples. So there is a really important aspect and element to the relating to others. Oh my goodness. I love this card, just dropped out. And we've got the Nine of Pentacles. There's that overwhelming of like the elation energy of the finality of bringing hard cycles to a close and being able to step unbound or unbonded into a lightness emerging. Yeah, wow. Just kind of taking a pause because it's like all of a sudden the whole reading is just expanded and changed. Of this open lightness of like a real shift in reality, internal reality and external reality. So the Lover's card has come up, that union, that reunion, the connection. This could be your internal masculine and feminine dance and dynamic and connection. Could be a re-establishing of a connection externally, combination of both. Just taking a look at the lion energy here. And what is that? Oh, it's a hawk or an eagle. So we've got the lion or lyran frequency there. We've got the avian energy, the bird's eye view. We've got the cosmic egg and the rebirth. We've got the infinity symbol and the chalice, elixir of life. We've got the cupid. Bringing back balance and harmony. And then we have the Nine of Pentacles, which is more on the material side of things, the abundance, the resources, coming into completion of having everything that you need and the resources to make the final or the finality or the steps, the shifts and changes. But it feels like there's that unity, trinity energy in the center point. So we've got masculine, feminine, and the neutral aspect or component, or the pink. The pink, the blue, and so masculine, feminine, and then the green of the love frequency that creates the ripple, and we've got all the gold spheres that are almost this process of dancing. It's like giving you a taste of what's to come. Sorry, I just got so mesmerized in that. Giving you a taste of what to come through dream space, through dream space, through energetics, through meditation. And well, I won't read that one. That one flew. Or maybe I will. So the lust card, which is essentially the devil card. So it's moving away from the previous entrapment of the being caught or captured into the shiny, the bright, the ooh, that's pretty, but it's not soul aligned. And getting real with yourself. And deeply internally rewarded with peace and harmony. Oh, we've got the sun, the brighter days ahead. We've got the cherubs. We've got all 12 signs coming into completion. And then the rose that emanates the new frequency of protection and love and balance and harmony. And that vibration of the new masculine coming available and online. Some powerful cards here. We've got the Emperor. So Emperor has come out twice now, 2 different decks. We've got the Ram's head that is up there. We've got the Aries symbol. So this may be a part of a process that is kicking off today that kind of comes into full completion or manifestation around Aries season, which is end of March into April. But the Prince of Cups, and so what I get from this is like being in tune with the masculine energy and the emotional component to be able to drive you forward. We've got the Five of Wands, the air of change, the fiery energy of change and transformation of you've laid down foundations. Don't allow the negative rattling effect of what's happening in and around you as things are crumbling. It's like staying in precision and focus. And then we've got the Queen of Wands. We've got the cheetah. I was going to say Jago. And the Pisces symbol. So, and we've got the lion's head above that. So it's like the fiery element of the feminine, and that action, that drive, that passion that's working with intuitive knowing to drive you forward, and having everything that you need in your hands, in your possession. So that was a big one. I'm going to wrap that up. I feel like that's a lot to take in and absorb. And I also feel like you may want to revisit that, because I feel like there's a lot of energy encoded. Of course, if you'd like to connect with me for the Sacred Solstice Journey, the Skywatch meetup in Melbourne, or for a personal session, all the details will be in the description box below. I'm wishing you such a beautiful and blessed December, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. All right. All right. I'm just going to clear that energy. I'm going to start to move into the next. So into card B. You've chosen this card here. Ooh, I feel like pressure going on in my head. But this energy feels a bit clearer, a bit lighter, a bit more malleable. Feel my almost like a chest plate of energy expanding or illuminating. It's like I can breathe again. So you may have just recently gone through sort of a physical upgrade or illness or sickness, just like a flu or a common cold, but it's like could be literal or metaphoric, but it's like you have had constriction around the chest, the lungs, the airways, and now I can breathe, but it's like the head still hasn't cleared fully. So it's like trying to allow space for that to the clarity that you're feeling here in the heart to rise to the head to get the clarity through the mind. Well, but the Emperor again. The empowered masculine energy. Can you please stand up? Oh, it's standing up. Oh, yeah. There's taking a stand, I feel, in this energy. Oh, bless you. We've got Parky P here. He's taking a stand, aren't you, boy? We've got the Eight of Coins and the Nine of Wands. Yeah, a lot of moving energy. I've never been an energy mover by yawning until doing a lot of Vegas nerve reset in the last couple of months. And now it's like anytime there's built up energy in my system, I just, as it's transmuting or releasing or decompressing, it's like that need for a deep breath in and then just, so might be a message in there to work with that a little bit. Okay. All right. Go with those for now. So we've got the Ten of Swords here. Healing, second chance, coming to a rocky end of cycle that's been very mind bending, mind melding, a lot of mental conflict, a lot of almost passive aggressive behavior, whether that's around you in your environment or just in your subconscious thoughts being expressed and you picking that up, but it's completing that, it's eliminating that, it's pressing that out of your field. And I think that what I was speaking about in the beginning of like maybe being unwell, or just going through those physical upgrades, it's just clearing a lot of congestion and space in your body for you to access something new. Like there's something new and available that wants to kind of come into your reality and make itself present and aware, so that you can really tap into like a precision and focus point. But it's not clear in the head, it's like it's clear in the heart. The heart and the navigation system kind of knows what's coming through the pipeline, but it's like the head still rewiring, recalibrating essentially. So we've got the pause, observation with the the 9 of Wands energy. Once again, we've got 10, we've got 9, oh, we've got 8. This feels like an evaluation. This is a lot of options, a lot of this feels like accomplishments from the past, things that you've engaged in, projects that you've perhaps done, powerful moments in time is what I want to call them. And it's like you're standing in the center of them and you're aware or watching them in the field. And it's like as you take that pause and that introspective moment and observation, you can start to really get more clarity, because it's like each significant moment in time, it's like as we wrap up cycles, yeah, we kind of take inventory stock of what was the most impactful, and we take that wisdom with us of what we learned. That's the energy that it feels like, taking that accumulative sort of package and then being able to kind of like start to make more sense of it in this rewiring space that's going on here in the head. And then we've got the 8 of Coins, the talents and the skills. So this is what's new and available that's becoming more accessible to you throughout the month of December, or whenever you catch this reading. It's starting to receive the ideas, the inspiration, spontaneously activating gifts, soul skills that will be a necessary requirement of what it is, of where you're kind of stepping or embarking upon next. This pathway that's not, so adamantly clear. But it's all happening in the energetics, in the internal process. It's like just allowing the mind to essentially complete what it needs to and get out the way. And really this divine communion energy of connecting with the heart space and allowing the wisdom of the heart to speak loudly and boldly as to what it wants to express and show you, because that feels really quite powerful and important. And it's like the giving up the need to know for now is the best thing that you could do, because trying to work it out is impossible. The level of consciousness that you're operating at and what is being recalibrated, it's not, you couldn't perceive what's awaiting. My goodness, look at this. We've got Sirius, Orion. So you've encountered beings from Sirius, you've encountered beings from Orion. They may be part of your soul journey. So you may have had incarnations on Sirius, whether that's A, B, or C. So maybe the connection to the dog energy, the whales, the dolphins, that frequency. Very, very very specific blue frequency I connect with, Sirius. And then we've got the Orion, and a lot of people have the mental energy that I was talking about, that you know, the trauma from the Orion Wars, but a lot of people have a very negative association with Orion beings as being bad or evil. Not all, and it's not necessarily. There is these, there is the benevolence in all races and benevolence. So it's like you may have encountered beings this time around. Oh my goodness. But there's definitely threads of Sirian and Orion energies, whether that's showing up in your soul journey, areas of influence in your incarnation now, or it could be the people around you that have these strong soul connections. And this might be something for you to explore a little bit further, or meditate upon, or connect with the energies and frequencies. I always see Orion as more of a brown. It's so funny when I think about Orion beings. Sometimes they look to me as like Ninja Turtles, like, but they got the brown, the army green skin complexion. And then we've got the experiencer card, so we are not alone. This speaks to me profoundly as having. It's interesting. I'm going to pause with the shuffling because there's something that wants to come through around that breaking free. Oh, goodness. Breaking free out of the restriction and limitation of this lifetime that connects back to previous soul incarnations. Could be, imprisonment or institutionalized, something that's quite dense and heavy. That it's like, coming into that needle point of the spiral, like breaking free of that, whatever that is now, breaking free of that ripples through or echoes through the soul's journey. So it's like going back to the origin point of when that traumatic experience or cycle started playing out, healing it from there and allowing the unraveling of the ripple effect. And I feel like, oof, yeah, what coincides with these understandings, however you want to, is partly connected to having experience, like contact experience, conscious contact experience. This can be very subtle in the beginning, through dream space, through meditation, through feeling etheric energies with you or around you. That's going to only amplify and increase and help you with your healing journey, the body transformation journey. Oh my God, we got Venus too. So looking at maybe a soul session to establish understanding soul origin points that are really prevalent for this incarnation and where it kind of culminates. The star mapping. So you've encountered beings from Venus. I don't know if I showed the other cards. Sorry. But the experiencer card. And then Orion and Sirius here. But this feels like real leap in expansion of consciousness through experiencing or experiential ways. Taking that big leap, that kind of that definitive moment of like your life changing and transforming, stepping out of one version of reality into the new or the next. Ooh, okay. Biology. There's a biologic element to your experience. Straight away, I think about the mantis beings, the super geneticists that work with our upgrading of our biology. And if you see in that image too, there's the DNA, there's an upgrade happening within your DNA. So this is all part of this incubation, the cosmic rebirthing, that cosmic version of you becoming accessible and online. It's big, really big. Swords energies. There may be an aspect of some sort of conditioning or programming that is unraveling within you. So whether you've ever delved into things of like what childhood has represented, with if there's sort of any mind control components or aspects to childhood, formally or informally. So, that can be through the actual programs themselves or just through states of experiences as a child. There's something impactful from ages 7 to 9 that want to be looked at and addressed that's unraveling now, that's then connected to painting the bigger picture of your cosmic origins. It's all somehow interconnected. So we've got the Nine of Swords. So yeah, once again, that mental, that mind, it's like that wants to be silenced or shut off. The repetitious, like negative looping is trying to unravel itself and kind of release. And it feels like I almost want to use the word bloodshed with this. Like there's like a warring aspect that wants to come into resolution, and it's mentally, it's internally, but it has a ripple effect from states of consciousness or experiences of childhood soul's journey. Then the Seven of Pentacles. Interesting, we've got the symbol of Aries showing up again repeatedly. So there's something between now and 3 months from now that's like, or 3 and a bit months from now, that's like really powerful in the changes that you make in your own evolution and this unraveling and like stepping in, reclaiming your power, investigating the soul origins and, all of these aspects. There's contracts that are playing, coming to a close, but there's something about enhancing your wealth and vitality and abundance that is simultaneously happening with this process. New resources, new level of resources coming available. Okay, we've got the fortune card that's just like falling on the floor. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah, full circle completion. We've got the monkey, the sphinx, and the crocodile with the sun energy in the center. So it's like coming out of a harsher cycle and meeting the brilliance of the forward motion and coming into much more fortuitous times and energies that are supportive and loving and nurturing, coming out of the harshness that has been probably, I would say, your entire life, but it's like as it gets closer to wrapping up, probably the more intensity might be felt. So just being gentle with yourself and knowing that it's a big part of closing out what you came here to wrap up. Essentially to be able to remember who you are and how impactful that is for you and for you. I almost don't want to say for you and your family, soul family. Oh, I've got the Ten of Cups fulfillment. So yeah, there's like this ultimate reclaiming of power and joy and happiness, contentment, emotional fulfillment, all your cups being filled on all levels, very holistically, from the ground up or from up down or the ground up, whichever way you want to look at it, having everything in abundance and overflowing in the ways that it was always intended and desired to be. Yeah. There's peace. There's peace coming. Oh, I've got the Pisces symbol in here and the Venus. So yeah, there's something around this like 3 month marker of like being diligent, but also knowing that you're coming into much more peaceful times. I think I'm going to wrap that up. If you feel like you want to connect with me one-on-one or want to join the soul meetup or the in-person meetup, all the events that are taking place throughout the month of December, I would absolutely love to connect with you in some capacity. All the details, of course, in the description box below. If not, I will connect with you next time, and sending you much love. Ooh, all right, clear that energy and space, and let's move in to the final phase. This feels like I don't know how long this recording's been, but it feels like this feels like it's been a marathon to move through. There's a lot of energy's been moving through this one to get this video out. So this is the final card piece of artwork C. So if you've chosen this one here, we'll dive into releasing the burden of betrayal. God. Excuse me. Oof. Straight away, there's big releasing of energy. Removing yourself from the situation to seek clarity is what's sort of coming up. Like instantly when I picked up that card, I felt almost like this kind of etheric energy of like knife in the back, that real betrayal energy, but it's being pulled out, but it's like this shock of like, and this isn't a new situation or anything that's happening. This is a removal of a betrayal energy that is wounded and hit really deep, that you've been carrying around for quite some time. And it's like the removal of that and the shock of that is kind of asking you to step away from the circumstance or situation, whether that's physically for a temporary period of time, or emotionally or energetically. It's like, yeah, just removing your energy from whatever it is, like stop ruminating in it. It's like you can't access the new or the clarity while you're ruminating in it, whether that be physically or energetically or both. It's almost like removing yourself entirely, putting yourself over here for like a day respite or a week, however long, take a break from it and allow I'm seeing like the golden frequencies infused coming in to like patch up where there's been that scarring. It's like this issue or issues that you've been working through for a number of years. It feels like 3 years in particular, or been aware of for that period of time. It's like it's finally being removed. It's like this big obstacle that has had an energy of betrayal or deceit or, yeah, something quite heavy and sticky is finally being lifted and removed out of your field. And there's like a shock element of like getting used to it not being there and like resetting your energetic or physical boundaries around that. Oh my God. You can't make this up. The first card that's flying out is the unexpected revelation, the Three of Swords, just the betrayal card. But as I said, this is not a shock revelation. This is something you very well have been aware of. There may be more information come to light that makes it more digestible, understandable, or easy to walk away, heal. Oh my God, Ten of Swords, healing, second chances. Being victorious in conquering this particular situation that's been hard and heavy and rough, so that you can like put it to bed finally. And it's like you won't know what to do with yourself because it's like you've been walking through molasses for quite a period of time with this heavy energy at play, and now all of a sudden it's like it's almost like a shock value that you're then in a different energy and have more oh my God, you have more vitality, you have more access and connectability to soul expression, you have more playfulness and joyfulness and creative expansion ideas. It's like, you know, black to white, dark to light, kind of, you know, flipping of the switch essentially, which is beautiful, but it's like it takes a while to adjust to that, you know, in its entirety, in its totality. But it is closing and wrapping up a cycle on him. This is just like being thrown out. The Two of Cups. So a loving union, teamwork, pairing up. It's like, it's almost what I get from this, and it might be metaphorical, literal. It's like a finality of like a divorce or a separation, like a long, lengthy, drawn out process that has, oh my God. God. I'm just going to get those two cards as I look down. And it may not specifically be that, but that's the kind of energy that it represents, whether it's that in its specific, it may have a whole different, you know, storyline to it. It could be work related, you know, or it could be like a payout or just, it's like the justice being prevailed or coming to complete, to pay the dividends, being given what is rightfully yours. And this could be a whole energetic play out. It may not be in the physical, but there's definitely this shift into this lightness. So the other cards was the Fool, so starting the new journey, the spontaneity, taking the chances, the leap of faith, being carefree, lightweight, moving through life without the burdens. And then we've got the Three of Cups, so the celebration card coming in. And just that, yeah, celebration, connection, weddings, family time, engagements, births, announcements. Like there's it's like this heavy and then into the light. It's like stark contrast. And this may not necessarily all be taking place in 1 month, but it's certainly like you hit the turning point and into the lighter. Oh my God, and the Lovers card. This is wild. Okay. Union energy. You know what? When I looked at that, I literally, I read with my physical eyes. So I read the best decision ever made. But obviously it says soulmates, decisions, and lovers. But there's this, so it may have to do with matters of the heart, making those choices and those decisions, letting go of the burdens of the past in heartbreak or heaviness, and just, yeah, being able to be embraced into the new. How beautiful. So there's the card that has flipped out here is the ET Spirit Guide. You have one or more extraterrestrial guides. So it may be them, the guide, the aspect of yourself that you might want to connect with to help you through this transition or get to know better, having a deeper bond and connection, conversation, communication. This feels to me like cosmic frequency counterpart, something going on in the mix here. Not gonna lie. Remember aspects of your contact are coming to life. This feels like a huge remembrance, soul awakening, activation, pineal gland. This feels like a further remembrance of the soul that I am, is what I want to say. Getting on board or coming online. And this may be activation through the connection of another or others. So we've got Mars. You've encountered beings from Mars. This feels like the betrayal, old energy. I want to sit on that side. But Mars might have many different overlay representations. Obviously, when we look at Mars in the context of SSP missions, it's not a very wholesome or light place that has a lot of energetic interference, especially the spider beings. They originate from there, at least from my experience, a lot of them do. And they have huge weighted interference on counterparts and frequency matches. They kind of really dabble and interfere with that. So that like may not have anything to do with your personal situation, it might have a lot to do with it. Just what's sort of coming through. But Mars, the energy of war, battle, challenges. Oh my God. But Mars also in the action oriented, fueling, powering, so there's lots of different, take it as Mars resonates for you. But once again, oh my God, we have the soulmate card. So we've got the frequency contact coming into balance, coming into reunion with self, with other. It's powerful energy coming through here. We have Orion, so dealing with the traumas and the wounds that may have been connected to Orion wars or templates, those burdens being put to rest. Sometimes the betrayal and the heavy energy can originate from that when we trace the soul's history and journey back there. But I almost feel like that when I say that, it's like pulling your personal power back online, coming from that place of where you may have lost it, bringing it back to you now. Then we've got the card of do your research. The answers you seek are readily available. And I feel like that's a really expansive, overarching energy and message for this month is whatever questions you have that you haven't had clear access to or the information of, it feels like you're able to easily access via your consciousness or via guided seeking, whether that's your own research or finding a practitioner who you feel can help support, facilitate that guidance. It feels as though this time round you get the clarity of your answers that you've been trying to access for a long time. And for some people, this could be clarity around your true counterpart, soulmate. That might have been an area of confusion for a while, perhaps. It's like that might become very, very clear. Yeah. Oh my God. But the Nine of Cups. So personal fulfillment, emotional not completion, being words on the tip of my tongue, having a level of, let's see the Pisces sign down here, contemplate, no, it's not, it's on the tip of my tongue, starts with C, being contented, emotionally content and fulfillment, knowing who you are, having that love energy really, it's like as this heaviness drops away and whatever's being released, it's like your heart can come back online, and that's the most important. thing. For the Prince of Cups, the High Priestess. Lots of watery energy, highly intuitive energy coming through here with the High Priestess, accessing a lot of information in that sort of, they're very, very complementary counterpart energy there as well, that are highly intuitive, working with the healing arts. Ooh. Oh, no, I'm gonna get them. One more card, please. One more card. Prince of Pentacles. Oh, there's a lot of Taurian energy here. Is that the sign of Gemini? We've got the bull for the masculine energy forging ahead, but in very grounded and practical ways. So pathing, forging forward. And also I get with this card, like sowing what you reap, like reaping what you sow, sorry. Like being able to accumulate the resources and moving forward on the path and having that chariot or that pathway opened for you. It's really powerful energy, but I'm going to wrap it up and leave it there. So I really hope that that has been supportive, that has given you some ahas. If you'd like to connect with me for an individual session or for the Sacred Solstice Soul Journey, or the Melbourne meetup, all the details will be in the description box below. Not to mention the elevation that is on sale, 33% off for up until solstice. Whew. Thank you so much if you have been here with me throughout the entire journey of this video. It feels like was like a whole journey to get through it all. So I just very much thank you and express a lot of gratitude for the support, the comments, the shares, the likes, the interactions, and to all my beautiful clients who have supported my work over this last 12 months. I'm wishing you all an incredible December as we wrap up such a big cycle and make way for the new. So, sending much love and look forward to connecting with you all soon.